Welcome to Chapter 2, Part 4, JavaScript Buttons. In this section, we are going to talk about JavaScript, and JavaScript is considered the third language in web design. You have worked with CSS and HTML. Now we're going to do a little bit with JavaScript. JavaScript is not the same as Java, so don't get the two mixed up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a button in to our website that when someone clicks on it, a message will show up. So we need to go to our folder, find our Chapter 2 folder, and we're going to look inside my first web page. We'll double click on that, right click on index.html, and we will edit it with Notepad++. Now you can do this as we go, or you can wait till the end and then try to put in the button yourself. The button is on your Chapter 2 codes, so I would make sure I use my codes with it so that I know how to actually write and insert a button. We're going to put our line. What I want to do is put the button between the header. Now a button can go anywhere on the page that you want. It's just up to you where you want it. We're going to put it up in the header. So I'm going to put my cursor at the end of line 31, hit enter twice. And the first thing we're going to do is type in button because we need to tell them that this is a JavaScript button. And so we need to tell it the type. And again, it seems redundant, but we need to type in type equals button. The next thing we need to do is actually tell the browser that when someone clicks on the button, it's going to send an alert and then open up a special box that will have the message inside the box. So to do this, we're going to type in on click equals alert. So we need to send out an alert. So when the user clicks on the button, so on the click, the browser is going to send out an alert. And this is where we get into our JavaScript. We're going to put a single apostrophe, and then we need to go find a quote. So I'm going to go to Chrome, and I'm going to click on my images icon, and I'm going to type in leadership. The reason why I like to use images for looking for quotes is just they're easier to read and they're easier to find quickly. So as I'm looking at this, I think I'm going to do team. Everyone together, everyone achieves more. So let's go back to Notepad++, and then we're going to type in all caps team. Then I'm going to do space, space, space. Then together, everyone achieves more. I need to end with a single apostrophe. And then on the outside of the button, I need to put in my closing quotation mark followed by my right angle. Then I need to put something on the button that tells the user what to do. So I'm going to type click here. So now I'm telling the user that to click on the button when it appears. So I'm going to save this. Let's go ahead and run it to see if the button actually works. There is my button. I click on it, and then it has a drop down that says team. Together, everyone achieves more. It's a great way to put a little tidbit in to your website. Now going back, let's do a little bit of styling to this button. So after our type button and before our on click, we're going to use the style tag to put in background color. We're going to tell background dash color, and we're going to put in like a green color, like a lime color. So I've got my background color. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to run it. And now it should turn to a lime green. There we go. Now let's say we want this button to be bigger. To make the button bigger, we have to change the size of the font. So we're going to go right after the color for the background, put a semicolon, and we're going to do color. colon, and I'm just going to put in white for right now. 2, 4, 6, followed by a semicolon. And let's do font size too, because let's make the font a little bit bigger so we can make the button a little bit more noticeable on the page. So I'm going to do 1.25 EM and do my semicolon. Then I'm going to save it, going in here and running it. Now, if you notice, my button is bigger because the text is bigger. This is what it looked like before I added the style in. This is what it looks afterwards. Now let's say we want the hello world and the click here to be centered on the page. To do that, we're going to have to go into the header tag. Usually you cannot center a button, a JavaScript button, by using the style tag inside the button. Usually you have to do it in the header, which means your H1 tag is also going to be centered. So we're going to type in style equals text dash align. We're going to type in center, followed by a quotation mark. So this should make our everything inside or between the header and the head centered. So we're going to save this. Then we're going to run it. If you notice now, it's in the middle. So there we go. So we have learned how to put a button in, and we know how to center the header so that the button is centered itself. So I wish you the best of coding. You want to go ahead now and find your first web page in chapter 2 and add a button. You may add in whatever quote that you want. Oh, and there's one other thing I forgot that I have to tell you. When you're working in JavaScript, if you notice there's a single apostrophe at the beginning and the end, what happens if we put an apostrophe between that? So we have together everyone achieves more. Well, I'm going to save this and I'm going to run it. You notice the button appears, but if I click, nothing happens. That's because you cannot put a single apostrophe between the opening and closing apostrophes in JavaScript. So to get around that, I'm going to put my cursor in front of the apostrophe in the word achieves, and I'm going to hit the backslash, the forward slash, and then I'm going to save it. And then this should tell the browser, if I click on it now, yep, it tells the browser that this apostrophe S has nothing to do with JavaScript, but rather relates to the text. Right now we have completed everything. You know how to put a button in, a background color, change the color of the font, and change the font size. I wish all of you happy coding, and I hope you do well with it. Thanks for listening.